In the mid-1800s, Austrian painter Joseph Eigner tried to take his own life. He tied the rope, stepped forward ready to end it all, when out of nowhere a mysterious Capuchin monk appeared and saved him. 4 years later, Eigner tried again, but the very same monk intervened just in time to stop him. Time passed and Eigner's life was threatened a third time, not by his own hand but by a death sentence for political activities. And as if by divine timing, the same mysterious monk showed up with a letter to help secure Eigner's release from execution. Well, I'm sorry to say, this story doesn't have a happy ending because at the age of 68, our boy Eigner finally succeeded in unaliving himself, as the kids call it. At his funeral, the presiding clergyman was, you guessed it, the very same monk who saved him on those 3 earlier occasions. A man whose name Eigner never even knew. These aren't just coincidences, they're synchronicities, because reality is always broadcasting its message. To hear it, all you have to do is tune in. The year is 1944, and renowned psychiatrist Carl Jung sits quietly listening to a patient's dream. She describes a vivid encounter with a golden scarab, an Egyptian beetle symbolizing death, rebirth, and transformation. He hears a tapping on the window behind him. Turning around, he notices a beetle repeatedly knocking against the glass. He opens the window, reaches out, and catches it. It was the closest thing to a golden scarab in that region of the world. Jung understood at that moment something remarkable. Reality is not random. He called these meaningful coincidences synchronicities, moments where the inner world of our thoughts somehow aligns with the external world around us. I'm sure you've experienced it before. You think of someone you haven't spoken to in years, and suddenly your phone rings and it's them. That's your consciousness interacting with reality. Jung wasn't alone in these ideas. One of his closest collaborators was Wolfgang Pauli, one of the pioneers of quantum mechanics. He noted that the phenomenon of quantum entanglement shines some light on Jung's theories. In quantum entanglement, 2 particles become deeply connected or entangled. Change one particle and the other instantly responds no matter how far apart they are. They communicate instantly, without delay, faster than the speed of light. David Bohm took this idea even further. One of the most respected theoretical physicists of his time, he proposed a radical shift in how we understand reality. We usually think of the universe as filled with distinct separate things in a wide void. Atoms, planets, stars, each isolated, existing in an empty vacuum. But according to Bohm, we've got it backwards. Instead, he suggests that everything is energy, a constant flowing ocean of waves interacting with each other. And what we perceive as solid objects are just stable patterns emerging from this invisible ocean. Your thoughts, they're part of this ocean too. Every thought generates its own wave pattern, its own distinct frequency rippling out into the universe around you. Bohm called this deeper reality the implicate order, a vast interconnected field where consciousness and matter aren't separate but fundamentally linked.
Now, I tried to get some idea of what might be the process which was implied by the mathematics of the quantum theory. And this process is what I call unfoldment, that the mathematics itself suggests a movement in which everything, in which any particular element of space may have a field which unfolds into the whole, and the whole folds and enfolds into it. So you have this movement, and I call this the implicate or enfolded order, which unfolds into the explicate order where everything is separate. Now, the implicate order, everything is internally related to everything. Everything contains everything, right?
If the universe is interconnected, then we should see the fingerprints of disconnection everywhere. And when you look closely, history is full of startling evidence. Groundbreaking discoveries often happen simultaneously by people who never even knew each other existed. In the late 1600s, Isaac Newton and Gottfried Leibniz independently discovered calculus, completely unaware of each other's work. Fast forward to the 1800s, and Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace each formulated the theory of evolution at almost exactly the same time, separated by oceans. But perhaps the most jaw-dropping example is Alexander Graham Bell and Elisha Gray submitting their telephone patents on the exact same day, February 14, 1876. Carl Jung summed it up best. We're all connected, each of us an individual access point to our shared collective consciousness. Enter biologist Rupert Sheldrake, who says it's all thanks to something called the morphic field, a hidden web connecting every mind on Earth. Sheldrake found evidence in an unusual lab experiment. Rats trained to navigate a complicated maze in one location mysteriously helped rats thousands of miles away learn the same maze faster, even though the two groups never had any physical interaction, no shared genetics, no direct communication. It was like the knowledge itself echoed through an invisible network, what Sheldrake calls morphic resonance. Jung described something similar with his concept of the collective unconscious, a vast shared mental landscape governed by archetypes, universal symbols and stories embedded deep within humanity. When these archetypes awaken, our inner experiences perfectly sync with external events, creating powerful synchronicities. Jung called these moments the unus mundi, or one world experience. Suddenly, the hidden connections between reality and consciousness become more and more clear. But maybe all this sounds like fantasy. Invisible fields, shared minds. Can we actually prove any of this? In the 1970s, shocking intelligence reports surfaced about Soviet agents using psychic abilities to spy on American secrets. The CIA initially laughed it off, but the reports kept coming. So in 1978, the CIA launched Project Stargate, a classified program to see if consciousness itself could transcend physical boundaries. They called it remote viewing. One standout was Joe McMoneagle, an ex-Army intelligence officer who, after a near-death experience, could vividly describe distant locations he'd never physically seen. During one legendary session, McMoneagle was given coordinates to a secret Soviet facility. Closing his eyes, he saw something impossible: a massive submarine, 2 holes within one giant structure. Analysts laughed it off. Such a submarine couldn't exist. Yet 6 months later, satellite images revealed exactly what McMoneagle described: the Soviet Union's Typhoon-class submarine matching his sketches precisely. The CIA then wondered if consciousness could influence reality itself. This led them to the Gateway process, a series of mind-bending experiments using a technology called hemisphere synchronization, developed by Robert Monroe. Participants listened to special sound frequencies designed to synchronize brain hemispheres and introduce altered states. The CIA called this Focus 15, a place beyond ordinary space-time where subjects reported leaving their bodies, glimpsing the past, present, and future simultaneously, and even influencing the world around them. Finally, a recent documentary called The Telepathy Tapes showcases an astonishing mental connection between autistic children and their mothers. These experiences suggest the same startling truth: consciousness is far more powerful and connected than we've ever imagined. While modern science is just now rediscovering the power of consciousness, the ancients knew about it all along. Consider Tibetan monks who've demonstrated incredible control over their bodies, raising their skin temperature by 17 degrees Fahrenheit, drying freezing wet sheets with nothing more than their mind's focus. Ancient Egyptians knew this too. Hermetic tradition famously declares, "As above, so below. As within, so without." To the Egyptians, reality wasn't chaotic or random. It mirrored our inner states. The god Thoth, who symbolized wisdom and writing, taught Egyptians to master their inner world to influence their outer reality, a spiritual process Carl Jung later echoed with his idea of individuation. To the Greeks, Thoth became Hermes, the playful trickster god. Hermes specialized in synchronicities, guiding travelers and seekers with timely hints, surprises, and improbable coincidences. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. Perhaps synchronicities are the universe's subtle reminder that reality is not something external and separate, but an extension of our own consciousness. They could be the universe whispering that we're not passive observers, but active participants in shaping our own reality. Ultimately, synchronicities might be signposts guiding us towards our highest purpose, nudging us gently back onto the path of alignment, growth, and self-discovery. So next time a synchronicity knocks softly on your window, pause and listen carefully, smile at the cosmic trickster, and remember, you're not just connected to the universe, you are the universe, waking up to itself.